Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a slightly different track guide than normal. I'm just going to try and run through this as quickly as possible. Those of you who follow me on Twitter may have seen that I've decided to invest in an 80/20 aluminium profile rig. So I've actually been putting that together. I've just finally put a few finishing, well, not really finishing, but a few of the later pieces on, and I've managed to get it in working order so I can record this lap. So I've jumped in a practice session. Obviously it's Phillip Island in the Skip Barber. As you can see, the weather for you there. Let's go to the setup. So we have pretty standard. I mean, it's something that we use on most tracks. I've decided to drop the roll bar to 7, and there it is for you in metric. Lovely stuff. Then if we have a look at the lap time, it's a 1:46.4. There's still more time in it. Honestly, the lap itself, I think we can probably get into the 1:45s, especially in a race when you've got some draft, maybe slightly better conditions. But let's jump on board. Let's see exactly what we did. So cockpit. Oh, there we go. So down the start finish straight, we're obviously in 5th gear, and we're going to line up on the left hand side of the track. Be careful of people emerging from the pits there, because they do come out on the wrong pit exit sometimes. So into the first turn, it's very tricky on cold tyres. This was obviously done in a session. It was lap 9 of the session, so my tyres were nice and warm. But on cold tyres, you need to be very, very careful here. If you have a look, you can see that the curb, it starts to bend in, and then it sort of fades in to this darker patch of racetrack, obviously where it's been rubbered in. So my advice is to line up as far to the left as possible, and then as the curb starts to curve in, that's when you're going to turn in and you're going to aim to follow this rubber essentially, and then get as close to this curb on the inside as possible. You're going to lift off. I'm going to play it first with the throttle on. As you can see, I'm lifting half throttle, just balancing. As you can see, I'm fighting the car all the time, and it's really difficult. On cold tyres, you're going to have to lift a lot more, and be careful on the exit, the later part of this turn, as your car is going to want to spin out all the time on cold tyres, so just be very careful. So yeah, just bear that in mind. I tend not to use all this runoff, because you're immediately into a very difficult second turn, which is a left-hander. So I tend to try and keep it fairly central. I mean, I will drift off to the left-hand side of the track a little bit, as you can see. And then we're going to spot our braking point, which, again, it can be anywhere, because it's such a long corner. It just keeps on going and going and going. You're just going to brake very gently, and I leave throttle on as well to keep the car nice and balanced. If we just play this through, can we do it? Can we step it forward? As you can see, the brake, I'm just sort of balancing it with the throttle, and then, do I ever come off the throttle? No, never come off the throttle. And we're trying to late apex as much as possible. It's here. Let me just rewind that. I'm not sure if you guys can see this, but in my mind, I can see a little dip down. The curb dips down, and that's where you're going to want to make sure your car is. If your car's on the curb there, then you're in good shape. If your car isn't, you're going to end up over here somewhere, maybe even in the ocean. Who knows? As you can see, I'm on the throttle all the time through this turn. Crank that steering wheel, get on full power. There's that little jump, and then we're sweet. There's definitely still more time in that for me. But yeah, the idea of this turn is keep it tight, slow down very, very smoothly, and gradually. Because if you slow down too much, the front's going to bite and the back end's going to whip around. You're going to spin. Slow down too late, you're going to end up over here in the kitty litter. So it's all about getting that balance, keeping the car nice and balanced, and on the power as early as possible. Now we're just flying down this straight, nice and easy, into 5th gear, and then into the hairpin, lining up on the left hand side of the track. Super easy braking point, this 100 board. It's a nice little line here. So we're going to be in 5th, and we're going to go all the way down to 1st gear. So just braking nice and hard, down to 1st, trail braking a little bit, and unfortunately I brake too much, I brake too early. Hit this curb on the inside. You're going to want to avoid that. Ideally, my car wouldn't be on the curb right now. It'd be shifted over a curb's width, and I'd sort of glance the curb just here in an ideal world. Unfortunately, I'm not good enough, I guess. I didn't do it. But power on nice and early, and into this sweeping left-hander. I like to use this curb here, the way it juts in, as my indicator to turn in. Again, it's another late apex, so you're not going to want to get close to this curb on the inside too much. However, if you do, similarly to the second turn, you're going to want to brake smoothly and carry the speed round so you can late apex. So let's just watch this through. Down to 2nd gear, there's the apex, and full power. You can use a bit of this dirt on runoff as well, so it's not too difficult. And now we're up to 4th gear. I like to leave it in 4th gear on this straight. I don't think there's any point in shifting to 5th. You gain maybe a mile an hour at most, and it makes this turn even more difficult than it already is. So as you can see, there is a bit of a dark patch of rubber. We're going to try and follow that, and if you look at the curbing here, you'll notice it's nice and flat. I'm just going to play this forward nice and slow, and if you keep your eye on this curbing, you'll notice that it sort of becomes an actual curb instead of something that's just level with the track. So we're going to start turning in. We're going to modulate the throttle to keep the car nice and balanced and aim for this curbing that we're going to see. So there's the lift. There's that curb that pops up. Then we go full power. Try and keep it nice and tight. At the top of this crest, if the car goes, well, the car will go light, we may need to lift or a bit of counter steer, and then try and get over to the left-hand side of the track as soon as possible. Immediately into the braking point for this downhill right, which is very, very difficult. I'd say the earlier you brake, the better. You got this 50 board, or again, the curb where it pops up, or just as you go over the crest, that's where you're going to want to brake. I'm going to brake down to 1st gear. So at the moment we're in 4th, we're going all the way down to 1st. Braking nice and smooth here, but fairly hard as well. Keeping that throttle on so we can get the shift down to 1st, and then keeping it nice and tight, and then power. Let's play it through with some sound. So, brake. There's 1st gear. Power on. Easy peasy. Now quickly into the second last turn. We're going to keep turning right. We want to get our car as far over to this side of the track as possible, because it'll make this left-hander nice and easy. It doesn't need to be much, but the more you get over, the better it is for your straight line speed. So up to 2nd gear, then we turn in. Don't touch this curb. Up to 3rd. We keep going, just keeping it nice and smooth. There's 4th gear. Easy peasy. Nice and settled. And then I was trying to avoid this guy. Didn't want to cheat. So trying to avoid the draft. I probably did get a little bit. And there we have it. A 146.462. Lovely stuff. Let's jump back. Let's play this through uninterrupted. And I will talk over it a little bit as well. So here we are lining up on the left hand side of the track. Watch for the curb bending in. Turn, modulate the throttle, get close to the curb on the inside, and then slowly feed it back on. Braking nice and early for turn 2, nice and smoothly, keeping the power on. Trying to late apex. And remember, there's that dip. That's what you want to aim for on the curb on the inside. We're up to 4th gear, flat out here, then up to 5th on this little crest, nice and easy. Then we drift over to the left-hand side of the track, and we're already thinking about this 100 meter board, is it? Yep, 100 meter board. 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st. Try not to hit the curb as early as I did. Try and hit it later. Up to 2nd gear, then 3rd. Curb on the right, sorry, to mark your turning point. Down to 2nd. Full power. Car's nice and stable through there. You can be really aggressive with it. We're in 4th gear now, are we? Yeah, 4th gear. Leave it in 4th unless you're drafting someone. There's no point in shifting to 5th. Line up on the right. Ease off the throttle. There's the curb. Power on. Full power, full power. If your car goes too light, lift. Brake at the 50 board. 1st gear. Carry the speed through. Power on as early as you can. Over to the right. Flat out through this left-hander. And then we're flat out all the way to the start-finish line. I do appreciate that this is not exactly the same as my normal track guides. I apologise for that. It is something I really do enjoy doing and trying to produce something that is reasonably high quality. Unfortunately, I just didn't have the time this week. So again, I apologise. Thanks for bearing with me. And I'll catch you guys next week. Hope you enjoy.